This course is presented to you free of charge by TTJ Tech Services of www.ttjtech.biz and by Stir It Up of www.stiritup.com. And remember, stir is spelled with a U, not an I, so that's STURITUP.com. TTJ Tech Services and Stir It Up are pleased to offer this course to you, to the glory of God, and to the benefit of all those who listen.
Welcome to More with the Mac 2024. I think this is session number 3. I got my buddy from ttjtech.net. Uh-oh, I'm getting better at that. You're in trouble now.
.biz, though. That's the only trouble.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, I keep forgetting about that .biz. It's always going to be... .net had a little ring to it, so... But yeah, ttjtech.biz. You can check out his podcast on TTJ Talk on any of your favorite podcast platforms. But today we're going to walk through the Finder, some other apps, and basically teach you predictable patterns, because as you will learn in the iPad class that's coming up, what's that date again, Matt?
We'll be resuming actually next week with our introductory session. So actually next Monday is the 25th, I believe, or
the 26th it is.
26th.
Yep,
yeah,
26th.
February 26th is our next iPad class. Yep.
Okay. Yep. And it's not too late to sign up. Just is there a link on your website, or do they have to email, or how do they get that if they don't have it yet?
The easiest way, if they don't have it, is just send an email to info@ttjtech.biz, and we'll get you the registration link.
All right, there you have it. So, as you will learn in the iPad class, and if you were in our voiceover in and out class back in the fall of any of the past 5 years, you know that we teach you predictable patterns. Basically, telling you that Apple has come up with a system that works with voiceover and screen reader software, that most of their apps, if it's made by them anyway, is always going to have the same pattern. So what you can do in mail, you can do in messages. What you can do in messages, you can do in text edit. What you can do in text edit, you can do in pages, Safari, so on and so forth. So Matt's going to talk about what we can do, and then we're going to do a couple of demos here.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks so much. Thanks for having me, and thanks to all of you for joining More with the Mac. We're so glad to have you here. And yeah, these predictable patterns, as Trainer Cliff has said, really will make the difference and will make it possible for you to navigate just about any app or website that you want to. And I like to say it this way, and we say it in every voiceover class, in every iPad class, and in most other areas of life. I think it applies as well, which is that we need to learn the fundamentals. And I heard an example a long time ago, and I've used it ever since I heard it, which is that they always ask the question, what is it that you are watching when you watch the Super Bowl? Of course, we just had the Super Bowl, had a great time, great food and all that, and family and friends. And, you know, we really enjoyed. And I'm not even a football person. I'm not even a sports person. But I enjoyed the Super Bowl, and I had no desire to change the channel because it was a nail biter. I mean, it really was right up to the end. What was it in the last, I forget now, Cliff, 8 seconds or something like that?
It actually went into overtime, actually.
It went into overtime, and it was in the last few seconds of the overtime that I think they finally won, you know, the Kansas City Chiefs. And what I'm getting at here is that what makes those games so good is that both teams are so good at what they do. They've worked so hard to master the fundamentals that they can do all of these things. So when you watch the Super Bowl, or if you're not a football fan, replace that with anything else that you like. But you are watching the masters of the fundamentals. And the same is true with learning these skills in navigating with voiceover on whether it be iOS or Mac, is that if you learn the fundamentals, you can do just about anything you want. Now, certainly there are more advanced ways to do it that will save you time. And that's Trainer Cliff's area of expertise. He's going to come in and he'll show you commanders, and he'll show you how to, you know, use some of the quick shortcuts that will make it so much faster. But you don't have to if you're just getting started. You can do it by just knowing a few basic voiceover commands. And if you have a trackpad, you can even use many familiar gestures. Today, we're going to focus on the commands, but we're going to also focus on how the screen is laid out and how it's set up. And it is very important to understand that when we use voiceover, it's quite different than a lot of other screen readers, because what you get, especially on iPhone and iPad, is you get a complete perception of what your sighted family members, friends, and coworkers are using. In other words, if somebody says to you, that icon is at the upper right corner of the screen, particularly true on touchscreen devices, you can reach up and you can touch the upper right corner of the screen. But even on a Mac, where you're not interacting directly with the screen, but rather you are using an input device, and you're then interacting with an app that's within a window, you still can get an idea of what your sighted counterparts are experiencing, because when you navigate with something called the voiceover cursor. And this is very different. A lot of Windows screen readers only will allow you to use whatever is available through Windows keys, unless you learn a complicated set of specific commands for a specific screen reader. And I won't, disparage anybody. It's not about that. It's, they do things the way they do them, and we won't mention any screen reader names, but, they have special keys, and sometimes special keys for each app. And then only with those special keys can you access things like toolbars or, sidebars or things of that nature. But with Mac OS, everything you do is done by moving the voiceover cursor around the screen. So if you're familiar with the iPhone or the iPad, it's the same concept. You're moving the voiceover cursor. If you have some sight, or anybody there that's sighted with you, you will be able to know, and they'll tell you that there is a rectangle that sort of highlights whatever has the focus. As you move the voiceover cursor, they're going to see that voiceover cursor. It looks like a rectangle, and it's going to be right around whatever element of the screen currently has the focus, whatever is selected, in other words. And of course, we probably already know, but just to remind you again, that basic navigation with voiceover is from left to right. And you do this navigation with the voiceover keys and the arrow keys. What are your voiceover keys? Remember, Control and Option, or if you must, you can use the caps lock. A lot of people like that caps lock because it comes from, it's familiar to them from Windows, but Cliff and I both prefer the Control and Option. We think that just, is a sort of differentiating factor. So we later will teach you ways that you can do this with one hand and quick nav and all that stuff, but we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, right? So this is Control and Option held down while you press other keys. Those Control and Option, that's called the voiceover keys, or the VO keys. And so if you hear somebody say, press VO right arrow, that means press Control Option right arrow. And that's how you move. You move to the next item on the screen with VO right arrow, Control Option right arrow. You move back to the previous item on the screen by pressing VO left arrow, or in other words, Control Option left arrow. And then to select an item, to actually open an app, or to click a button, or to bring up a pop-up menu, whatever it is that you want to select on the screen, whatever element has the focus can be selected with VO spacebar. In other words, pressing Control and Option while you also press then the spacebar, and then let them all go. And so VO space is your activate command. It's the equivalent of double tapping on an iPhone or an iPad or a Macintosh trackpad, which we'll deal with later. Okay, but this is VO space. That's how you open something. So again, VO left and VO right to move between items, and then VO space to open something. There is another command that uses VO command space. So you remember your keyboard layout there on the bottom row? You may or may not have a globe key or a function key at the bottom left, depending on which keyboard you have. But then you've got Control, Option, Command, Spacebar. And then going to the right, you got Command, Option, and maybe Control if you have the extended keyboard. Otherwise, no. But again, you can add that Command key. So all three of the keys, Control, Option, Command with the Spacebar. And that is what we commonly refer to as your long press gesture in iOS. In other words, it's the context gesture. It's like what we might say in the Windows world, a right click. And sometimes even Mac users use that term because it brings up a context menu of items. It's like click and hold or tap and hold in iOS, right? Control Option Command Spacebar gives you the context menu. And we're going to demonstrate all of this in a couple minutes, but I want to talk about one other concept before we do. So let's just review what we've done so far. Again, we can move between items on the screen with Control Option left arrow and Control Option right arrow. And when you get to the end of the row or column or whatever, it's going to automatically wrap to the next or previous one. And you say, well, what about up and down? What about VO up and VO down? That's later. That actually controls something called the rotor, and we're gonna get to ways to do that and how to deal with that at a later time. That's not for right now. Just VO left and VO right for this moment. We're starting out very simple, okay? And VO space to activate or to open something, or to click on something, and then VO command space if you want a context click to get the contextual menus. Now, before we do a demonstration, I want to talk about one other thing that I really don't think we can be an effective Mac user without doing, and that is interacting. Now, here's where things start to get a little bit different from what we experience on the iPhone and the iPad by default. Because as I mentioned to you, when you are navigating a Mac, because you're not touching the screen of it, you are interacting with a sort of in-between device that affects the app. And so what happens is that when you navigate on the screen, you're navigating kind of at a top level. And if you want to find out what's in anything that you run across on the screen, you have to interact with it. Now, don't worry if that sounds like it's overwhelming right now over your head. We're going to explain all of it. And I'm going to give you an analogy that I truly believe God gave this to me, and I like it a lot. And I believe it'll bless you, and I believe it'll totally clarify why we interact and when and what it means. So I like to use the example of going into a hotel. All right, let's picture that we're in a city or a town, and we've got lots and lots of buildings. As we're walking outside through the town or the city, we walk by the airport that we just left. We walk by a couple of restaurants, some office buildings. There's the hotel. Here it is. Here's the hotel we're staying at. Now, if we don't stop at that hotel and go inside, if we just keep walking, we're going to go right past the hotel. We know it's there. We can see the sign if we can see, or somebody tells us, or our phones tell us, but we don't know what's in that hotel unless we open the door and go inside. So now we open the door, we go through, whoops, got our suitcase caught in the revolving door. Okay, we're through now. Now we finally get in. We're in the hotel. We're at the lobby. There are all kinds of places now, and we go to the front desk and we check in, and they say, well, your room is 423. It's on the 4th floor. So we're going to take the elevator up to the 4th floor. Now, we get out on the 4th floor, and we come to a long corridor or a long hallway with rooms on either side. We need the odd numbers because we're 423. So as we walk down this hallway now, we're going to see room 403, 405, 407, 409, 411, all the way up 421. There's 423. Now, again, if we just keep walking, we know that 423 is there. We've experienced the fact that we're passing by 423, but we don't know what's inside it. In order to find out what's inside it and use it, we're going to have to unlock the door and go in the room. And once we go in, we're deeper into this hotel now. We're a couple of layers in. And now we see that there's a bed and there's a coffee maker and a TV and a bathroom and chairs and everything else that they might have in the room, because we've gone deeper into that building, layer by layer, deeper in. Now we're in the hotel room. Now, if we want to go out of that hotel room, we're back in the hallway. We can go back down to the lobby, and there may be other places we want to go. There might be a restaurant there on site. There might be a swimming pool, but we have to go in each of those places. And as we do, we're going further and further into the hotel building, layer by layer, to get what we want. This is, I think, a beautiful analogy, praise God, for what we do on the Mac when we interact. Because as we're going to demonstrate here for you in a couple of minutes, many apps and many windows that you'll go into will have a lot of different areas that you'll pass by as you use your VO left and VO right arrow. You might first run across a toolbar, but what does that toolbar have in it? And if you just keep going VO right, you're going to pass right by the toolbar. You're going to hear voiceover announce that there's a toolbar, and it might even tell you there's 8 items on the toolbar, but you're not going to hear what those items are unless you first interact with that toolbar. Now you're going to see that it has a new button, so you can create a new document or open a new window or whatever the app might require. And maybe it has an open button, and maybe it has other buttons that are relevant to the app that you're in. And now if we want to go beyond and stop seeing the toolbar and just see the rest of the app, we have to stop interacting with the toolbar. But now we're going to move to other things that we may need to interact with, like a sidebar or a content area or a scroll area. And so any one of these things that we need to work with, we have to interact with it. And if we want to stop working with it and see the rest of the app, we have to stop interacting with it. Now, I will point out that there is a feature that was introduced in iOS in the relatively recent past. I don't remember if it was version 16 or 15 or whatever. After a while, they all kind of blur together. But there was an option called navigation style that was introduced for voiceover users. And by default, it's flat, meaning literally you just touch something and that's what it is. But you can change it to grouped. And if you change it to group navigation, it actually kind of mimics this Mac experience. Like when you run across a toolbar or some sidebar in iOS or something, you're gonna have to interact with it with a gesture, and instead of just automatically seeing it. Now, I don't do this. I leave my iOS and iPadOS devices on flat. I don't group them. I like it the way it's always been, and I am convinced that most iPhone and iPad users would prefer the flat navigation style. I can't think of any situation in which I would really want the group style. Maybe for you, maybe if you're more comfortable with the Mac, or maybe some people, like I could see if there's a lot of stuff in one area of the screen and they'd rather avoid it, and then so you could try it if you find it difficult to navigate the iPhone or the iPad. But for me, it's going to be flat on the iPhone and iPad, which is the way that it's always been. But on the Mac, we really don't have a choice. Correct me if I'm wrong, Cliff. You're more the Mac user than I, but they haven't introduced a choice for that on the Mac, right?
No, not that I know of, right, as of yet. And I use the Mac pretty much every day, so.
Right, you would see it if it were there. So we're going to say there's not a choice at this point. You have to do it this grouped way, and you have to interact, which we're going to demonstrate for you. But the command to interact, so that you can learn this, is VO Shift down arrow. In other words, Control Option Shift down arrow to start interacting. And when you're done interacting, you stop with Control Option Shift up arrow. Okay.
And yes, for those of you who don't want to use a bunch of fingers, you can use the caps lock key, assuming that it's set in your VO settings, which I go over later in this session.
Correct. And of course, he's going to teach quick nav, and there's lots of other ways too, and trackpad we'll cover. But for right now, VO Shift down arrow to start interacting, VO Shift up arrow to stop. Now, before we do the demo, I'm going to answer this question that a lot of people have asked me over the years, because maybe, you're a little further along and you know about this, but you still aren't comfortable with, when do I interact and how do I know? So I want to give you some keywords to look for that you can absolutely use these keywords to help you. And I also want to remind you about your voiceover hints. We always say at TTJ and at Stir It Up, I'm pretty sure all of us on the team, we always say, leave your hints enabled. Don't disable them. If you don't want to hear them right now, just move on to the next thing. It will interrupt the hint, or press the control key. If you need a moment of silence just to think and you don't want to hear that, just press control. It'll stop. Okay. But leave the hints on. Don't actually go in and disable them, because what you'll be doing is potentially selling yourself short by not hearing some of these options. Because a lot of times, if you need to interact, it will tell you so. It'll say, to begin interacting with the contents of this scroll area, press Control Option Shift down arrow, that kind of thing. The other thing you can do for our more advanced users is you can adjust the time
That's what I was just about to say. That's what I do.
Yeah.
I don't turn them off, but I do adjust the time. So if I'm on an element or an area for more than, I think it's 7 seconds, VoiceOver knows that I want to know what that hint is, then it'll speak. But if I keep on moving on, then it won't talk it. So I don't turn them off, but I do adjust the time that it does say that hint.
But that is true. I mean, and so if you're comfortable with your VoiceOver utility settings, you can go in there and you can adjust the time, before the hints and that sort of thing. I forget where that's located, Cliff, and under VoiceOver utility.
I think it's under verbosity. It's actually a category itself. I think it's the 5th one. It'll be speech, voices, or not voices, braille, text, something else, and then hints.
Okay.
Text.
Okay.
That's what it is. Text.
Okay. So that's good. Thank you. So that's helpful if you want to do that, but leave them enabled. And then here are some key words that, if you hear these words, it probably means you're going to need to interact. So any kind of bar, toolbar, sidebar, scroll bar, any of those kinds of bars, if you want to work with the contents of those, you have to interact with them. Any kind of group, if you hear the word group, radio group, button group, any of those types of terms, you got to interact with it. If you hear the word area, and that can be pretty broad, you might hear content area, scroll area, HTML area, text area, all these kinds of areas, and probably a bunch that I don't even know about or I'm forgetting. You want to interact with an area in order to be able to work with it. And so there's probably other keywords that I'm forgetting because I use the iPad. I don't use the Mac every day. But Cliff, are there any other ones that just stand out to you that word, as soon as you hear it, you need to interact with it?
The only one that I can think of that you might have missed is tables. Other than that, I think you got
that's a big one. Yeah, that's a real big one. Absolutely. The tables. Yes. Yep. Thank you. I did miss that one. So those are some, helpful terms. But what we're going to do now is Cliff and I are going to demonstrate this for you. And we'll go to a couple of places. Where do you want to go first? The Finder? So as most of you know, probably the Finder is kind of like your Files app. It's what you can access different folders and iCloud Drive and other drives on your Mac and so forth. And it's actually what's opened by default when you have the desktop, and you just may not realize it. But have you already gone into a new Finder window?
No, I haven't. I haven't gone out. My desktop, as you know, stays blank. So right, I'm in Finder, but I don't have a new Finder window open, but it is blank.
Okay. So all right. So probably the best way to demonstrate this is to open a new Finder window. I don't know what your default folder is going to be, but
iCloud Drive window.
iCloud Drive
view.
Okay. All right. So now, folks, there's a case where Cliff used a shortcut key, and I would have too. Not all the time do I do things the way that he does, because I'm not as much of a Mac user as he, so I don't know all the shortcut keys that he knows. But that's
and VoiceOver just reminded us of another one where you got to interact, and that's a list view or column view.
Or column view. Any of those you have to interact as well. But just so you know how we open that Finder window, I'm assuming he pressed Command N. Is that right?
That is true, and that's actually the only way you can open a new Finder window. The only other way to get to it is...
The only other way would be to go up to the menu bar with Control Option M for and then go to it. I can't remember now if it's the Finder or the File menu.
I think it'd be the File menu, but ultimately it's going to tell you to push Command N anyway. So
it is. It's going to say New Finder Window, Command N. That's exactly right. It'll give you that because that's a Mac OS now. That's a Mac OS shortcut. So even if you're not a VoiceOver user, you can do that one. These ones with the Control and Option VoiceOver keys obviously require VoiceOver to be on. Command N, that's an everybody command, so you can press that, and we now have a Finder window. And if we can move through this Finder window on I'm assuming the top level. He might be interacted with that scroller or that list, but I doubt it. So let's press the left arrow and see where we go.
Kind, size, date modified, folders,
okay, so
folders,
I'm actually wrong. Let's get that notated down. Cliff, that's going to be Cliff's ringtone, me saying that I'm wrong. All right.
Date modified, size,
so
kind.
We are already in the list. So what we'll do right now is we'll stop interacting by pressing VO Shift up arrow.
Out of scroll area.
Okay. Now we should be at the uppermost level. If we do it again, we should get a bing sound that indicates we can't go any higher. Yep. Okay. So that means we don't have to stop interacting anymore. We're at the highest level, sort of the bird's eye view of this Finder window. And if he starts moving to the left, we will hear what's in this
Vertical
window.
splitter. Sidebar. Row 9 of 26. iCloud Drive. iCloud. Selected.
Now, what you heard there is the sidebar, which basically means because I use the new Finder window and I have my Finder set to open up automatically in iCloud Drive because that's what I use the most. And later on in this session, I teach you how to set up those Finder settings to what folder you want to be open when you do open a new Finder window. But this is the sidebar, and right now iCloud Drive is highlighted because that's what I have open up automatically. If I interact with the sidebar though, it'll tell you what is all in the sidebar. So let's interact here by going VO Shift down arrow.
In sidebar, row 9 of 26. iCloud Drive.
And
iCloud. Selected.
And
iCloud
as you
Drive.
heard, be quiet. As you heard, iCloud Drive is the ninth thing in the sidebar. So I'm gonna VO up arrow so you can see what else you can find in the sidebar.
iCloud. Expanded. Downloads. Arrow down circle. Applications. Recents. Clock. AirDrop. Dropbox. pCloud Drive. Favorites. Expanded.
Okay, so now it's the top because we heard that bottom. So let's go back down.
pCloud Drop. AirDrop. Recent application. iCloud. Expand. iCloud Drive. Documents. Desktop. Shared. Locations. Google Drive.
So basically, this is, I don't even know what you would call this. What is that section of Windows when you're not in the home folder, but you're like in where everything else is at? I guess that would be their applications folder, I guess. I don't know.
So the section of with the locations is actually what they used to call, and maybe still do, computer. You can quickly jump to that with the shortcut Command Shift C, and that gives you like all the drives on your computer. But then you notice it had these sections. So it had the favorites section up at the top, and it said it was expanded. And I think you could have pressed VO space to collapse it if you didn't want it. Is that right? Or do you have to do
I don't know if it's Command space. I use the VO, what is that?
The backslash?
Yeah,
that's so there's two ways, folks. If you find something that's expanded and you want to collapse it, or you more importantly find something that's collapsed and you need to expand it, that's not interacting, because that's a Mac OS thing now. You understand that for the sighted users too. So if you want to expand it, it's one of the two. It depends on what it is. Sometimes they're interchangeable, but either VO space, or if that doesn't work, then VO backslash will definitely work. Control Option backslash will expand and collapse these areas that are expandable or collapsible. So that is a voiceover command to do that. For sighted users, you would just click on it, or maybe there's a little arrow next to it that you click to expand it. Okay, but it is that is something that that anybody can do in one way or another. So these are all the different areas in the sidebar. Now, remember, we're interacting with this sidebar, and that's how we would change the location. So if we if we open a new Finder window and we say, well, it brings me to iCloud Drive, that's normally where I want to be. But right now, for some reason, I need to browse to my my connected USB thumb drive, or I need to browse to the Google Drive or pCloud, or I'm feeling nostalgic and I have a DVD drive connected, and I gotta you have to interact with that sidebar then to, there's other ways too, but that's beside the point. You would interact with that sidebar to see the list of locations. That's what's in this particular sidebar. Some apps will use sidebars for other things. And again, if you're an iPad user, this may make sense, because the iPads more and more now are using sidebars that go along the left-hand side of the screen and are expandable and collapsible like this with different areas of things. So if we select something here, I don't know what we're on right now. I don't remember.
Locations, expanded, shared for desktop, documents, document.
Okay, so he's got something selected. Now, there are two different things that we can do here. One is that we can stop interacting with the
Actions
VO.
available.
Oh, and you notice it also said actions available. Remember, we talked about actions before. That's one of those cases where you would potentially want to use that VO command space bar to get the actions, the context menu. But we're not.
But you also noticed that hint was spoken because I lingered here for a while, and VoiceOver knew that I wanted to hear it.
That's right, exactly. So there are two things we can do now. If we want to explore the rest of the window, the Finder window, and just get out of the sidebar, we can stop interacting with the VO shift up arrow. That will take us out of the sidebar, and then we can move around and see what else is in the Finder window. The other thing that we can do is, if we know that we're on the location we want, we heard documents, if we want to jump directly back to that other area, the list view scroll area, because remember, if we were to do this with the most basic of ways, we'd have to stop interacting with the sidebar. Then we'd have to VO right, I think probably twice, to get to the list view scroll area, which actually contains the contents of the selected location, in this case, the documents folder. And then we'd have to interact again. Now, that's not a big deal, but it's several steps, and there is a quicker way. And it's known as the VoiceOver jump command. If you right now press the VO or control option and the letter J, it's going to immediately jump you from this sidebar to the scroll area. And that is a very convenient command where you find more than one area that can be interacted with. Like it's great in, well, I'm assuming it still works. I, theoretically could be saying something wrong here, and Cliff will have to lambast me for that. But it typically works great in
relay is active.
It typically works great in mail because you can jump from the message list right to the body of a message. I think you can do that in the Messages app also, right, Cliff? With conversations, jump to the actual conversation itself then, right?
Yes, you can. The other problem, I mean, some people think that you can jump backwards, and it doesn't work with it. It only jumps forward. So
there's no VO Shift J. You can't do the backwards
search.
Okay.
In list view name.
And see, when I did it, it actually automatically had me interact because I was already interacted with the sidebar. So that's what it did. It automatically interacted me into the list view.
So that's the advantage of that. Yep, exactly. It just saves you a few steps, And just one other comment that I would make here, and then Cliff, whatever else you want to demonstrate, we'll definitely do. But one other comment that I'll ask it this way, because we get this question. You have yours set up as list view right now, and Cliff, is this like one of those other screen readers where list view is the only thing that I can use? Like, do I have to switch mine? I better go right now to my Mac and switch everything to list view, right?
No. You have choices. We have column view, which is the other popular view with VoiceOver users. There's also icon view and gallery view, which is more for the sided side of things because of the way that it lays it out. Some people do use icon view and have success with it, but later on in this session, John actually demonstrates the difference between how to navigate list view and column view. So that's coming up, but they all work with VoiceOver though. There's no right or wrong. Yeah, exactly. And you can switch those by doing command 1 through 4, and VoiceOver will speak them. So I guess I'll go ahead and
as icons checked.
Icons is 1.
List view.
List is 5. List is 2.
List 1 item selected.
I think that's supposed to be icon because it didn't say it.
As gallery checked.
And so icon is 3 and gallery is 4.
List view.
And so that gives you an idea. We interacted. If you stopped interacting, there's more things you could interact with. There's a toolbar in this Finder window also, and I don't even remember what all is in the toolbar, but that's another area near the top of the screen that we can interact with.
8 items. Back forward as list view, group, share, add tags, action, Dropbox, search.
So basically, it just gave you some options to share and, some, quick settings that it thinks that you may want to do while you're in, the sidebar area. I mean, if you were in a direct folder like applications, iCloud Drive, or maybe even your home folder, which is the folder on your main desktop where all your music, movies, TV shows, and downloads, and if you don't have your documents in iCloud, which I do, they'll also be housed there. But it will always give you recommendations in that toolbar on things that you want to do.
And to be clear, again, there are other ways of doing most of those things. But if you get into a new app and you don't know what those shortcuts are, or you're reading a user guide that was written for the sighted user and it says, click the plus sign in the toolbar. Well, you don't have to wait, and you don't have to say to somebody, hey, sighted family member or friend or whatever, I have no idea what they're talking about, plus sign in the toolbar. All you have to do is find the toolbar, interact with it, and logically figure out what is probably a plus sign, which is usually going to be add or new or create new or, something like that. You can use the toolbar the same as your sighted counterparts. It's not typically the only way, and many voiceover users will probably find other ways, quite honestly, that they like better because there's less moving around if they can do it with a shortcut key. But you know what? Why not learn the basics so that you can navigate in any app or website that you so desire?
Desktop.
And to close that out, you just push, what did I push? Oh, I Command W. Now, that's usually going to close the current window. So if you're in mail or pages, messages, something like that, and you do Command W, it's only going to close the window, and you'll hear whatever app you're in has no windows. If you want to completely close the app, you want to use Command Q, as in quit. So
yes. Yep. And those are important because they're going to save a lot of time. Again, if we're very technical about it, you could interact with the well, actually, I don't even think you have to interact. It's at the top level, at the very, very leftmost that you can
go where it says close.
There is a close, but you can do it that way and then go up to the application menu, VOM, and get the quit button. But these are so much easier. Command W to close the window, Command Q to quit the app.
All right, we can jump into Safari. I actually haven't even taught nothing with Safari, so this would be a little teaser, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Right, and I think really just another example for us to show interacting again just one more time here. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, most people keep theirs on their desk, their dock. Actually, my dock is actually pretty empty because I have a commander for pretty much anything that I want to open. The only things that I do have on my dock, well, let's go see.
Dock.
I can't even remember, so I can't tell you.
Finder.
So of course, Finder's there.
Photos,
which is an app that I use often enough to have it on the dock, but I don't open it enough to have a commander for it.
Feedback Assistant.
Feedback Assistance, I'm part of the beta program, so I go in there and submit feedback, or as I call it, that job application when you want to tell them something's wrong.
Separator.
And then you hear it say separator, and if I miss my guess, or don't miss my guess, I should say, the next one should be the trash.
Trash.
There it is.
Trash.
And that's the last one. So on my dock is very empty. But normally when you first set up your Mac, you'll have it just about everything that they think you're gonna use on your dock. Or your dock. Mail, Safari, photos, messages, contacts, calendars, you name it, it's probably going to be there. I mean, they put just about everything on there. Pages, Keynote. I removed all that, and I'll teach you later on down the line how to, reorganize your dock, but this ain't that session. I just wanted to come in here and show you that my dock is pretty much empty because, like I said, I have commanders for everything. So, my commander is actually a default commander that was set up with the Mac when it shipped, and you'll have a few. Safari is right option S. You can use the left option. Most people use the right. I'm assuming that's because they think most people are right-handed, which we are. Another teaser, option T, you can get the time. Option M, you can get mail open. And I think those are the only default ones. I was about to give you another one, but that's one that I set up. But it was option C for messages, but I set that one up. So T for time, N for mail, S for Safari. So let's do S for Safari.
I'm sure that you've probably already discussed this, but just in case somebody forgets or they're joining late or what have you, if I'm sitting at my Mac right now just out of the box and I try right option S and it doesn't do this, or right option T, it's just because I haven't enabled a setting, correct?
Right, which would be the voiceover commander, and if I'm not mistaken, command or VO keys Shift K.
Keyboard commander off. Desk.
So I just turned it off, but if you want to turn it back on, it's a toggle. You do VO Shift.
Keyboard commander on.
and the letter K. So yes, you and if you want to turn it on the long way, as Matt has discussed, you can go to the voiceover utilities menu and go all the way down to commanders and just check the box that says turn keyboard commander on. Now be careful when you go in there because there's other commanders. There's the numpad commander. There's what else is there? There's one more, isn't there?
Well, the trackpad that we're going to discuss.
Trackpad
later.
commander. Yeah.
One. And then, just to give people one other thing here, if you want to see, because we've said that, by default, you get a new Mac and it pretty much has all the popular apps on the dock, which of course, VOD to get to the dock. But what if you want to see all your apps? And there's a couple of ways that you can do this. My favorite is the Launchpad, and that's my favorite because I am an iPhone and iPad guy more than anything. So I like to use things that sort of are call outs to the iPhone and the iPad, and the Launchpad is absolutely that. By default, you can get that Launchpad from the dock. If you open the dock, it's probably the second or third item on the dock. I don't know, actually, I can tell you in a couple days, but I think the Macs that don't have touch bars, I think you can press maybe the F4 key to bring up the Launchpad also, but it is on the dock. And when you do that, it actually opens up. You'll hear this little sound is a sound, and it fills the screen with a full screen, like a home screen, like your iPhone or iPad.
Yeah, I can't tell you because I disabled mine because I hate the Launchpad.
That's one way.
But I think you're right. I think it is F4. And remember also, as long as your function keys or your top row is the checkbox is checked that use as standard function keys, because if that is not checked, that command with the F4 will not work.
Yeah, then you'd have to add the function key, I think, or something. And then the other way, if you don't want to use the Launchpad, is you can actually open a Finder window with your applications folder. We saw that in the sidebar, and again, it's got a shortcut key, and that is Command-Shift-A, which will bring you up to all of your applications. So however you need to get to Safari here, if you're following along with us, we're going to open Safari.
Safari, 100%, 90% loaded. Amazon.com.
Don't judge me. Anyway, Amazon is my homepage because I do
expecting a review of whatever it is that you bought there, Cliff.
Because I do spend a lot of time on Amazon. I do, but that Amazon's not a good site to test out where you would have to interact because their site is pretty clean as a voiceover user. Wouldn't you agree, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, of course, mostly I use the app because I'm using iPad and iPhone, but the website has always been fine also, yeah.
Right, so give me a web page that you think that we have to interact 2 times.
Oh my, I got to think about that now. Put me on the spot here. What about like, I mean, we certainly don't want to get political here, but what about like a news site or like we could use a tech news site. That way we avoid politics altogether, but maybe some kind of a tech blog or something that has multiple sections. I mean, even if we don't find a site that we can interact with, we still can find things in Safari that need to be interacted with, because what happens in Safari is that, and I think by default,
because I think actually, so if I search for something,
search Amazon, search text.
Now what I did is I hit the letter F because I use single key navigation and quick nav on when I'm on the website. It's just faster and more sufficient. I mean, if you want to continue to use the caps lock key or voiceover keys on the website, that's up to you. I'm a little older, I'm lazy, so when it comes to Safari, I turn on the single letter navigation. And to do that, you hit voiceover and the letter Q will turn it on, and it's a toggle, so you hit the voiceover letter Q and turn it off. Now I actually have to turn it off here because quick nav and entering text not quick nav, but single key letter navigation and entering text do not work together. So I actually do have to turn it off.
You did bring
up
a good point though, Cliff, when you said quick nav. Do you still have to have quick nav on first before you enable single key navigation?
Right. So I'm gonna have to turn off quick nav and single key letter navigation in order to type my search.
So you press to turn the quick nav off. It's the left and right arrows together to turn it on or off. And then if you want to use that single key, you turn it on, and then you do VOQ to turn on single key navigation.
Exactly.
Arrow key quick nav off.
So there's supposed to be some new iPads coming out. So let's see if we got some discounted iPads. So let's just search for iPad
space
latest generation
space 0%, 100%, 88% loaded.
Now that page has loaded. I don't know if you heard that little ding there, but I'm gonna turn quick nav back on,
Arrow key quick nav on.
and I'm gonna turn single letter navigation on,
Single key quick nav on.
and I'm gonna hit the letter H to get to the top of my results.
2 items. 116 of 196 results for iPad latest generation. Sponsored ad from KATYBE tablet.
Now you can hit the letter H again to get to your first tab, because right there that's just an advertisement.
Apple iPad 10th generation with a 14 Bionic chip, 10.9-inch liquid retina display, 256 gigabytes, Wi-Fi 6, 12 MP front, 12 MP back camera, Touch ID, all-day battery life, silver.
With that advertisement, I just better buy one, huh? I mean, he just put it all out there, didn't he? My goodness, you don't get a much better description than that.
No.
Options. 2 sizes. 4.8 out of 5, 4.8 out of end of 4.10,101, 10,100 end of 10,2K plus bought in past month. $559.00 list.
So you see the information that VoiceOver is giving you there. It said there's been over 10,000 sold and over 2,000 sold in the last month. That's phenomenal. People must really be jumping on, catching on to the tablet world. Now, the reason I searched for something is because I thought it was going to give me a table here to interact with. But like I said, Amazon has really cleaned up their site for screen readers. As a matter of fact, I think the second or third link on their homepage says contact accessibility, click here or call, and it gives you a number. So, I mean, I think they probably take accessibility just as serious as Apple does.
It seems like they've done a really thorough job with it, that's for sure. You notice that Trainer Cliff was using H to move by heading, and you could use the Shift H to go to previous headings. Now, what if you don't have quick nav and single key navigation turned on? You can do it by doing VO command and then the letter H or Shift H. So you're pressing VO command H to go to the next heading, VO command Shift H to go to the previous heading. But here's what I'd like to point out, though. By default on the Mac, when you open Safari, it automatically takes you to and interacts you with, if I could use that as a verb that way, it interacts you with the web page area itself, known as the HTML content area. So you're actually seeing the website. And that, I believe, is just a way of Apple being helpful, because when you open Safari, you probably want to see the website right away. But what you actually will find is that there are other areas of Safari. Most of us probably don't need to use them because there's shortcut keys for just about everything. If we want to
February 21st, 12:16 a.m.
If we want to open,
Sorry about that.
No, that's all right. That's okay. If we want to open a new website, we Command L or whatever. So a lot of us don't see this, but there are other areas of Safari. So if Cliff were to stop interacting right now,
Out of Amazon.com, iPad latest generation, vertical
Now-
splitter,
if he goes to the left, VO left arrow,
toolbar,
there's a toolbar. And inside that toolbar are going to be like your back and forward buttons, which all have shortcut keys. But it's just the point that there are other areas besides just the website. So if he moves back to the right 2 times,
vertical splitter, Amazon.com, iPad latest generation,
And let's do the hint. Have it tell us what this hint is.
you are currently on web content. To enter the web area, press Control, Option, Shift, down arrow.
doesn't get
Now I don't have the, like I said, I had the hints delayed, so it would have read that eventually. But if you want to get the hint right away, you do VO Shift and the letter N as in Nancy. And I think you can. Isn't there one with VO Shift H also?
This item
Yes,
has no
that-
help tag.
Okay, yep, that's the help tag.
Help tag also, right.
Okay, let's go back to the toolbar though and show them what's in there, because like you said, there are shortcuts, but let's see what's
Toolbar.
there.
Full screen, minimize, close.
Now there's that close button that Matt was talking about. If I hit that, it will close the web page, but it will not close Safari.
Minimize.
That's right.
Full screen. Toolbar. In toolbar. Show sidebar. Tab group picker.
Tab group picker.
Go back.
You can go back,
Go forward.
go forward.
Add page to reading list.
I don't necessarily use that, but some people love that. So basically, that's a reading list that you can access on at any time. I mean, I think it's a shortcut in your
Add page to reading list.
in your favorites section.
Secure site certificate.
Secure site certificate, which means that Amazon is secure. That's what that's telling you.
Right.
https://www.amazon.com/s?k=iPad plus latest.
So that right there, it brought me to, what is that called, Matt? Where you search for a web, where the link is at? Is that the address
that's
bar?
the address bar where you can either do a search or a web URL. Yep.
And the shortcut for that is, I think Matt said it already, is Command L. And I should have told you what the back and forward commands are, which is Command left bracket to go back and Command right bracket to go forward.
Reload this page.
And you can reload the page, and to do that on the fly, it's Command R.
Collection.
And this is the collection of, I think this is where stuff that people have shared with you, and this is where this is housed at.
Downloads.
You can get to your downloads folder directly in the
let me
toolbar.
just say that you notice if that collection, if he wanted to see what's in it, perfect example, he'd have to interact with it.
Reload this page.
Let's go and see.
https://
I haven't been in a while.
Reload this collection.
You interact.
In collection. Frequently visited. Shared with you. Privacy report.
Okay, so there's different things in here that you can the old space bar on.
Siri suggestions.
Reading
list.
See, there's your reading list. So if I added something to my reading list, it's right here in the toolbar. I just have to drill down into that second hotel room and get to it.
iCloud tabs.
iCloud tabs.
Select iCloud device. Voice settings.
Okay, so yeah.
Out of tool.
See, now you see, I had to stop interacting 3 times actually to get back to the main thing. So I'll go back over to the right, which is the Amazon page.
Amazon.or out of one free delivery.
And of course, I can get this iPad delivered if they want me to spend $500 on it. So what website is this here?
0%. Apple News, rumors, reviews, prices and deals. Apple Insider page has
Apple Insider. This is a good one to go to, because when you click on an article, they actually have articles here. You can actually interact with the article, but then it'll say more information. So let's see what we got. Besides, I haven't read no Apple News today. So
top story.
What's the top story today?
Rumor score face with rolling eyes. Unlikely. After years of research, an Apple Smart Ring may be imminent.
Oh, give me a break. Are you guys serious? An Apple Ring? Did you hear about that?
I saw that earlier today. I saw that. Oh, my.
Goodness.
Featured stories. Apple Vision Pro follow-up could be 18 months away.
All right, so the follow-up for the Vision Pro is closer than some people thought it would be. So let me see what's here. I think I can interact here.
In Apple Vision Pro follow-up could be 18 months away.
So I interacted, and I'm going to VO right arrow.
Apple Vision Pro follow-up. Apple Vision Pro
okay, so
could be 18
it's
months
just
away.
a title, it seems.
Out of horizontal separate article. Apple Music beta trials new feature for importing Spotify playlists.
Apple, why are y'all doing that?
End of horizontal separate article.
So, but yeah, basically, if I wanted to read one of these articles,
blowout deal. 16-inch MacBook Pro with 1 terabyte SSD gets $850 price drop.
I bet that must mean a new Mac Studio Pro or Mac Studio is coming. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna VO spacebar on this article, and it's gonna
100% limited stock. Grab the 16.
And I have the M1. I have the Mac Studio Ultra. So I mean, you didn't even hear a progress bar. He just had 100% because it loaded the web page.
Article.
And there's the article.
Blowout deal.
Now, if I actually wanted to skip all this, I know this is not something we probably planned, but whatever. But if I wanted to skip over all these, because there's a bunch of pictures here, probably some sublinks and some advertisement. If I want to skip that, I'm just going to hit Command-Shift-R, and it's going to give me the reading view, and it's going to be nothing but the article. So let's see what it says.
Article, 100%, blowout deal, 16-inch MacBook Pro with 1 article.
See, I'm at the very top of the page, and it says article, which means there's nothing on this page except that article.
Blowout deal.
And because VoiceOver loaded it, or because my Mac loaded it so fast, it didn't even get a chance to say showing you reader view, because that's what it normally would say. But because the page loaded so fast, that's why all you heard was 100%. So if I hit it again,
hide reader.
It said hide reader. So before it said show reader, this time it actually said hide reader. So those are a couple of things that you can keep in mind when coming onto Safari. Like I said, I hadn't planned on teaching Safari. This is just a little teaser, but we just wanted to show you when it's necessary to interact whenever you hear a scroll area, vertical splitter, vertical scroll bar, toolbar. There may be some websites that you have to, interact with the vertical scroll area or just a scroll area because there's article and text in that article. So, you got anything else, Matt?
I think that's it. I think that's probably giving them a lot to play with and a lot to think about.
Later on, my buddy John Panarese is going to stop by and give you a little snippet of the difference between column view and list view. Right now, I want to take you through some settings. First, we're going to talk about the settings of the Finder. The Finder actually does have its own settings. To get to your settings, you do Command, comma.
Finder settings window. Uncheck. Show all file name extensions. Checkbox.
Alright, let's go to the toolbar and see what's in there.
Toolbar.
Interact. VO. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me slow down the rate. Remember to do that. VO command and the shift key. Hit the left or right arrow to get to your category.
Volume 70%.
We're at the volume.
Real table. English. Language. English. Voice. Alex. Rate 50%.
Alright, let's slow down.
45%. 40%. Toolbar.
Alright.
Desktop. Desktop.
So,
Finder settings. Toolbar.
interact with the toolbar. VO shift down arrow.
In toolbar. Sidebar. Tags. General.
So we have general,
Tags.
tags,
Sidebar.
sidebar,
Advanced.
advanced. So let's go check out general.
General. General selected. Out of toolbar. Show these items on the desktop.
Show these items on the desktop.
Unchecked. Hard disks. Checkbox.
Hard disks. I'm assuming that's like a DVD drive or something like that.
Unchecked. External disks. Checkbox.
External disks. I'm assuming that's USB drives, network attached storage devices that are plugged in via USB, whatever.
Checked. CDs, DVDs, and iPods. Checkbox.
Well, that's pretty self-explanatory.
Unchecked. Connected servers. Checkbox.
Connected servers. I don't want to see those.
New Finder Windows show.
Because all that shows on your desktop. And number one, I don't even use my desktop. My desktop is empty. Now, this next section is New Finder shows. That means when you hit Command N to open a New Finder window, mine is going to show
iCloud Drive. New Finder Windows show.
iCloud Drive. But let's see what our choices are.
Menu. Cliff's Mac Studio.
I can have my computer section show.
Macintosh HD.
My Macintosh HD itself.
Cliff Miller's.
That would be my home folder where my documents, music, pictures, and all that are housed.
Desktop.
My desktop, which I do not use.
Documents.
Documents, you can have it open directly into your documents folder.
Checkmark. iCloud Drive.
iCloud Drive, which is where mine goes.
Recents.
Or recents.
Other ellipsis.
You can select other, and I guess open up a different section, like if you had a specific folder you wanted to go to, but iCloud Drive does me just fine.
iCloud Drive. Checked. Open folders in tabs instead of new windows. Checkbox.
I've never understood what that meant, so I'm not even going to try to explain it to you.
Checked. Open folder.
Alright, let's go back to the toolbar.
Toolbar. In toolbar. General. Tags.
Tags. I'm not even going to go into that one because I don't use tags. I'm assuming it's the tags that you want it to be displayed in certain areas, but I don't use it, so we're not even going to go into that.
Sidebar.
Sidebar, though. This is the stuff that you would see if you go into your sidebar, so let's check that.
Sidebar selected. Show these items in the sidebar.
Show these items in the sidebar.
Scroll area.
There's a scroll area, so we're going to interact with it. VO shift down arrow.
Checked. Recents. Checkbox.
Recents.
Checked. AirDrop. Checkbox.
AirDrop.
Checked. Applications. Checkbox.
Applications.
Checked. Downloads. Checkbox. Unchecked. On my Mac. Checkbox. Unchecked. Movies. Checkbox. Unchecked. Music. Checkbox. Unchecked. Pictures. Checkbox. Unchecked. Cliff Miller's. iCloud. Checked. iCloud Drive. Checked. Shared. Checkbox. Checked. Desktop. Checked. Documents. Locations. Unchecked. Cliff's Mac Studio. Mixed. Hard disks. Checkbox. Checked. External disks. Checkbox. Checked. CDs. DVDs. And iOS devices. Checkbox. Checked. Cloud storage. Checkbox. Checked. Bonjour computers. Checkbox. Checked. Connected servers. Checkbox. Tags. Checked. Recent tags. Checkbox. Checked. Recent tags. Out of scroll.
Now, as you can see, most of that stuff was unchecked because I know how to get to it via keyboard shortcuts, which I'll, do a little refresher here in a minute. But let's go back to the toolbar.
Toolbar. In toolbar. Advanced.
And the last one is advanced, so we'll select that.
Advanced selected. Out of unchecked. Show all file name extensions. Checkbox.
I don't want to see the file names whenever I go to the file, so I have that one unchecked.
Checked. Show warning before changing an extension. Checkbox.
So you can save files in different formats. It's basically saying here that it's going to warn you, or warn me I should say, if I'm going to change the file format.
Checked. Show warning before removing from iCloud Drive. Checkbox.
That means when you delete something from iCloud Drive, it's going to make sure it gives you a prompt to ask you if you're sure.
Checked. Show warning before emptying the trash. Checkbox.
Same with the trash.
Checked. Remove items from the trash after 30 days. Checkbox.
I don't even know why I have this checked because I empty my trash manually every couple of days. But if you didn't and you forgot to empty your trash, after 30 days, it will automatically do it for you.
Keep folders on top.
I like my folders on top, so that one is checked.
Checked in Windows when sorting by name. Checkbox. Unchecked on desktop. Checkbox.
Unchecked on the desktop because, again, my desktop is empty.
When performing a search.
When performing a search,
Search this Mac. When
Search-
performing a search.
search the Mac, and what is your other choices?
Menu. Search the current folder. Use the previous search scope. Use the previous search scope.
And
Search
those are your
this Mac.
choices.
When performing a search this Mac.
And that is it.
Toolbar.
So that's basically your Finder settings.
Desktop.
I
Desktop.
push escape to get out of that. So remember, when you're navigating your Mac, you have keyboard commands. Some are a lot of them are going to be voiceover specific. But if you want to know what that keyboard command is for whatever app you're in, you're going to do VOM.
Menu bar.
In the Finder, it's the Go menu.
Go.
So I'm going to go there. I just push the letter G to do that. But in any app, when you're in Pages, Keynote, Mail, Messages, anything, you just go into that menu by pushing VOM and going over to more times than not it's going to say View or Navigation or something like that. But in this case, it's the Go menu. So let's see what it has to say.
Go. Back command. Left bracket.
And that works anywhere. Your command left arrow, and the next one's going to be command right arrow, will take you back and forward pretty much anywhere. The next document, the next folder, the next page in a document, web page on Safari, which we haven't gone over yet. So
Forward command. Right bracket. And closing folder. Command up arrow.
closing folder, you want to command up arrow.
Recents command shift F.
Reasons, command shift F.
Documents command shift O.
That means when you do command shift O, it'll drop you right into your documents folder.
Desktop command shift D.
Desktop, again, mine is empty. Command shift D.
Downloads command option L.
If you want to find the download and you haven't changed the location, command option L will take you there.
Home command shift H.
That's where you house all your documents folder, unless you have it in iCloud Drive, pictures, movies, TV shows, whatever. That's your home folder.
Library.
Library doesn't have a shortcut key. I would advise staying out of that because you can really mess up a lot of stuff if you go in there and you don't know what you're doing.
Computer command shift C.
All you Windows users would recognize that. Command Shift C is the computer section. That's where you're going to find your network attached storage, USB drives, thumb drives, anything you connected externally.
AirDrop command shift R.
You want to airdrop something for your Mac, Command Shift R.
Network command shift K.
Command Shift K, your network. You know, if you have a network attached storage device or you want to see what other computers are on your network, you can go to that section.
iCloud Drive command shift I.
Command Shift I, iCloud Drive. So if you have any amount of iCloud storage beyond 5 gigabytes, you go there and you'll be able to see what you got in there.
Shared command shift S.
Command Shift S, I've never used that feature, so we'll skip that.
Applications command shift A.
Applications, Command Shift A. Anything that's installed in your Mac will be found in this folder.
Utilities command shift U.
Utilities is also found in that applications folder, but if you want to bypass that and just jump right into the utilities folder, just push Command Shift U.
Google Drive.
And I have Google Drive and all
Connect to server ellipsis
other stuff, but you know, you get the idea.
Desktop.
Those are your, for lack of a better term, quick start guide or quick start keyboard commands to get you to where you want to go on your Mac.
Is the difference between list view and column view in Finder. So they're not considerably different. It's more of a philosophical approach to how you want to look at your Finder. You know, the thing that's the advantage for list view, in my again, this is all my opinion, but you know, from training people, is that you do see the information about files.
Audiobooks folder. Axe.number books folder. Digital editions folder. DVS folder. Email folder.
So right now I'm in my home folder, but right now it's expanded some of my folders, which hopefully will.
Digital books folder. Axe.numbers. Audiobooks apps folder. Docs folder.
See if I can get
Applications
this to work.
folder. Docs folder. Apps folder. January audiobooks folder.
Let's see if I can
March
get
19th.
this to expand.
List view table. Audible books folder. Daisy and
There
L
we go. So expanding the folder
military folder. MISC folder.
will drop me into
Name. Ascending order button. Date modified
So
button.
what I'm doing is I'm VO right arrow.
Name. Ascending order button. Star Trek folder. Star Wars
So
folder.
this is my audiobooks folder, which I have categorized into
Star Trek MISC folder. Military folder. Daisy and L.
different categories here.
And how did you expand your, the
So
folders?
I used command down arrow. Now, the thing that's kind of weird to me, and your mileage may vary, is if you look at the Go
You are
menu,
screen sharing. Participants
Folder.
can now see your
tell me-
application.
it will tell
April
me
30th.
that command right bracket and command left bracket will expand or contract. That doesn't seem to work consistently. Command up arrow to close and close a folder, and command down arrow seems to work a lot more consistently in list view. So as I said, I expanded my audiobooks folder. So now I'm in the audiobooks
Zoom.us
folder.
has new Audible book military MISC folder. Star Trek folder.
So we have all the different categories, and this is a work in progress. I've kind of like here and there start adding things and subdividing my audiobooks, et cetera, et cetera. So this would be, and if I wanted to enclose,
At list view. Audiobooks folder.
so
March
now I'm
19th.
back up a level to the, to the main documents, the folders, the subfolders that are in my documents folder. And if I,
And list. Apps folder. Docs folder.
so now
February
I just
10th.
enclosed with command up arrow.
Apps
So
folder.
now we're in my main.
Audiobooks folder. Numbers.
So, but it still is, this is what's weird because it's still
Numbers
expanding my,
And close. Volumes. Users. List. One item selected. List. Docs. Full download. Dropbox. Full.
so now I finally got it to close all the folders just to go, but what it does is it kicks me all the way back to the user home folder, the user folder list. And then I got to go back into John, and I don't know why it's behaving this way because it never did. What it would do is you would have the list of folders as I showed you before, and then when you expand subfolders, they become expanded, and then you can work your way down all the way to the bottom of that list, and then you'll hear the folders that are, still closed in this one continual vertical list that you expand and contract with command up arrow and command down arrow. Now, again, the advantage to list view, in my opinion, is that you do get the information by VO right arrowing. So if you're looking for files that are, were added at a certain date, or you're looking for files of a certain kind, and then you can use the view option with command J to,
Users.
so I'm
Window.
just going to do that.
Users. Close. Show. You always browse and group by. None. Group by.
So we have group by, and I'm just VO right arrowing here.
Sort by. Name. Sort by.
So, and then you can sort your folders and your files. So I've worked with people who like the way that Windows, for example, does things where, you have all the folders listed on top, and then the files that are in that folder, that specific folder, are after the subfolders list. So you can do that by the
Name. Sort by.
name and kind.
Text size. 12. Tech name. Sort. None. Group by. Med. Checkmark. Name. Kind. Application.
So
Kind.
kind. If you change this to kind, it will then do the folders instead of the files first. So
None.
I'm just
Group
hitting,
by.
I'm going to hit my
List.
hit
One item.
here. So again, I'm going to do column now, so I'm going to do command 3.
Download. Dropbox.
It didn't say, but it switched to column view. Now columns is a little different. Everything that you see.
Downloads.
So, right
Docs.
now
Full.
I'm in my John, which is, let's go back.
List.
I'll
One
show
item.
you.
Check. John.
So
Folder.
my home folder is called John. So I left arrowed, VO left arrow to close my home folder list. Now if I VO right arrow,
List. One item selected. Applications.
everything
Full.
that's in this column is all on the same level of the operating system.
Docs. Full. Downloads. Dropbox. I put it more audible. I put it more log. Games.
So if I
folder.
go back up to
I put it more
documents,
audible.
I'm
Dropbox.
just VO
Folder.
arrowing.
Downloads. Application, Docs,
So if I
folder.
expand docs by going VO right arrow,
List 1 item audiobooks, ax.numbers, notebooks, full digital editions, full DVs, full email, folder.
so these are all the folders, the subfolders that are in my documents folder. This is the same level. So I'm going up and down with the column.
DVs, digital edit books, full ax.numbers, audiobooks,
So I'll go
folder.
back up to audiobooks that I had in list view. I don't have to do command right arrow. I just
List
do
1
VO
item
right
selected.
arrow.
Daisy NL, military, MISC, fold, Star Trek, Star Wars, Warcraft, Warhammer 40K, folder.
Now, I can't go any further down. So the difference here is that if I was in list view, if I kept going down, it would actually keep going down to the next subfolder, and then I could expand or contract the subfolders by using command up arrow and command down arrow. So in essence, from a visual standpoint, list view is a vertical list. So you're basically expanding and contracting that vertical list. Column view is like the traditional Windows tree view. So you have the branches and the sub-branches of the columns that you're expanding and contracting. So it's a philosophical difference. It's just that from habit, going back almost 20 years now, I learned Finder in column view and I teach it in column view, but I also don't dissuade my clients from, or any user from, from switching over to list view, because I will use list view at times. When I'm looking for something specific, if I'm looking for a date added, if I was in my downloads folder and I wanted to see what the date certain files were downloaded on, if I was like looking for for example, an authorization from a state agency, and the person tells me, oh, we sent that to you on, February 9th, I can go look in my downloads folder and check the date that authorization was actually downloaded to match it. So, there's advantages to using list view over column view, and there's advantages to using column view over list view. That is specifically up to the user to decide. The two views in Finder that I personally don't find accessible with VoiceOver is the gallery view and the icon view. Now, icon or image view is what Apple has by default. Some blind users, some who've gotten used to icon view, will disagree with me and tell you that icon view is usable with VoiceOver. And yeah, is it accessible? Yes, but I don't think it's easy to navigate or understand your file and folder structure in the same way as list view and column view. And to me, that is the most important aspect of using Finder. You need to know where your stuff is being kept on your Mac. And if you use list view or column view, I think you, as a blind user, you have a better situation as far as, having a visualization in your mind's eye, especially if you've been blind your whole life, or you've been blind for several years and you don't have the advantage of having a visual representation of how the Finder structure works. So there is my opinion or my demonstration of Finder in the different views.
Now, with column view, isn't it different? Isn't there advantages? So I've heard, because I don't use column view at all, but I've heard that there's different advantages to copying and pasting into folders with column view.
It's easier to keep track of. So in other words, the basic rule of column view is you want to be on the folder in which you either are pasting or moving an item, or if you're going to create a subfolder. So in other words, if I wanted to make another subfolder in my documents folder, I would be on the documents folder, and then I'd press Command Shift N for the, to start the process of creating the folder. And the same thing for moving and pasting. It helps you, in my opinion, keep track of where stuff is. List view, I don't play enough with it for copying and pasting, because I usually switch to list view because I'm looking for something specific. So I don't really when I'm doing file and folder manipulation, I'm always in column view. But that's what I have found again, everybody's opinion is going to differ. And you will find blind Mac users who have been doing this as long as me who will disagree with me. And that's fine. When it comes down to, as I always say to people, the Mac gives you a lot of ways to do things. And it's really up to the user to decide what is the best way for them.
Thanks to John for that great demonstration. Now I'm going to go into the voiceover utilities. You can get there a few different ways. The most common way would be to push Command Shift U, hit the letter V, and VO spacebar on voiceover utilities. But most of you know me by now. I'm lazy. I have a commander, so let's use it.
Voiceover utility window, utility categories.
When you first open it up, it has the general section, and I'm going to touch on some of these, but I'm not going to go into all of them. The general.
Speak the following greeting after login.
So you can have voiceover say something to you when you first log in, and mine says,
Hello, Clifton Senior. Content
says hello, my name.
unchecked. Display welcome dialog when voiceover starts. Checkbox.
And I'm assuming that puts a welcome something up on the screen. I don't need that for two reasons. One, I don't have a screen, and two, I'm totally blind, and so even if I did, I wouldn't be able to see it.
Keys to use as the voiceover modifier.
Keys to use the voiceover modifier. You can have the voiceover keys, command or controlling option, or the caps lock key for you Windows users and JAWS. But I use the voiceover keys. Now, both of them are checked.
Control option or caps lock. Keys to use as the voiceover modifier.
It's that way by default, but you know, you can use either one.
Portable preferences off. Image.
I don't use portable preferences. That's when you can export your preferences and go use them on somebody else's Mac.
Setup portable preferences. Unchecked. Allow voiceover to be controlled with Apple Script. Checkbox.
Yeah, so if you want a script like the time in date red when you push option T, or somebody has a custom script for you that they wrote or you know how to write, this box needs to be checked. So that's the last one. So let's go back over to the table.
Search text voiceover utility categories. In utility verbosity.
Verbosity. This is pretty self-explanatory. If you want check boxes, buttons, tables, anything to be read out at a certain point, you can select medium, high, low, and have it all be on default. So that's, you know, something you can play with.
Speech.
Let's go in here.
Added voices. Selected. Tab. 1 of 2.
You got voices.
Pronunciation. Tab.
And you got pronunciation. Pronunciation I've never messed with, so we won't even go there.
Unchecked. Mute speech. Checkbox.
Obviously, you're a voiceover user, so you don't want to mute speech.
Customize language list.
You can customize your language list. Mine is English by default.
Add language.
You can add a language.
Remove selected languages.
You can remove them.
Help.
And that's it.
Remove
So,
customized language list.
so we're going to go into this customized language list.
English.
It's on English.
Voice. Alex.
And it has voice Alex.
Rate. 40 rate. 39.
And you can turn it on.
Voice.
So,
Alex.
but if you want to change or add voices, you're going to VO spacebar on this, what's a drop down or a pop up. It didn't say it because I have mine set to low, but I'm going to VO spacebar.
Menu. Checking.
And I'm going to go all the way to the bottom where it says
Manage voices. Ellipsis.
Manage voices.
In English.
So English is my
Vertical
default language. Go past the vertical splitter.
Voices.
And we got voices here.
In voices. English. US.
You're going to interact with the table, and you can scroll down through their list of voices.
Agnes. 1. English. US. Alex. Using 911.7 megabytes. Play. English. US. Allison. 9.9 megabytes. Allison. Enhanced English. US. Ava. 10.4 megabytes. Play. iCloud. Ava. Enhanced 240.7 megabytes. Play. iCloud download.
Okay, so it tells you how much space it'll take up, and then it'll tell you download. If it was already download, it would say trash. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to interact.
In Ava. Enhanced 240.7 megabytes. Play. iCloud download.
So
Play.
it'll take up 247 megabytes, which is fine. I have a terabyte.
Ava. Enhanced.
So
iCloud download.
there it is. You put VO spacebar on this, and
But stop.
it's downloading
Cancel.
because there's the cancel button.
Voices.
And then while that's downloading, you can explore other voices.
Info English. US. Alex.
Of course, it took me back to the top.
English. US. Eloquence.
So we're at eloquence. These all remind me of the. I used to be a Windows user, so these all remind me of the voices, the real speak, not the real speak, but the eloquence voices that JAWS had.
Eddie. Play. Info. Flow. Play. Info. Grandma. Play. Grandpa. Play. Read. Play. Info. Rocco. Play. Sandy. Play. Shelley. Play. In English. US. Evelyn.
Alright, so now we're back to the voiceover voices, not the eloquent ones.
Evan, 6.2 megabytes. Play. iCloud download.
It's telling me that iCloud download. I don't want that voice though, so.
Evan, enhanced. 257.6 megabytes. Play. iCloud download.
Okay, so this is not downloaded. And again, to download this voice, I'm gonna interact.
In Evan, enhanced.
It's telling me what the name of the voice is.
iCloud download.
Tells me the iCloud download, which is a button, so I'm gonna VO spacebar.
Stop.
And she's telling me to stop because it's downloading.
Cancel.
I can cancel it,
Voices.
but I'm gonna not do that.
Read. Play. English. US. Kathy.
So you get the idea.
Vertical split languages.
Once you come into manage your languages, let me make sure I'm saying this right. So now that I'm done customizing my voice list,
Okay.
I'm gonna go over to the OK button, press VO spacebar. So
mute speech checkbox.
of course you don't want to mute speech.
Customize language list.
You want to go into customize language list.
Voice. Alex.
Alex is your voice, or maybe not. You would VO spacebar there.
Menu.
Go all the way to the bottom.
Manage voices ellipsis.
Manage voices.
In English.
English is my language.
Vertical splitter.
And then I'll go past the vertical splitter
Voices.
and interact with the voices there. When you get to the voice you want, you interact once again. You know, drill down into the second section of the scroll area, and you go over to iCloud download, which is a button, and you press that, and it'll download that voice for you. So we're all done in here.
Okay. Activities.
So we're gonna go back
Uncheck,
over
mute.
to the table over here.
Search voiceover utility categories. Rel in utility category navigation.
Navigation is basically your mouse pointer, how you want voiceover to react to certain elements and things like that. I've never messed with it because it works fine for me. If you're a high power show or have some sight and you want to customize some stuff, have at it, go for it. I can't give you them recommendations because I don't use it. Web, we haven't even gone over Safari yet, but basically you can reorganize the things that are on your rotor in this section of the voiceover utilities.
Sound.
This is where you can customize where your sound comes out. You know, if you want voiceover coming out the headset and your movie coming out the speaker, or maybe you want voiceover coming out the speaker or in your movie coming out the headset. This is where you go in here and customize that.
Visuals.
Visuals, obviously I'm blind, so I don't need to mess with visuals, so I'm not even going to go there.
Commanders.
Everybody knows that I like commanders. I'm the commander king, I guess you would say, because I create a commander for just about anything. So you would basically go in here, select the key combination you want to use, which would be the right option key and any letter, and you can even use shift and numbers. You pick the app you want it to open or the action you want it to perform, and then click save. If that's, if you have trouble with that, maybe I'll go over it in a live session. But here I'm not going to do it because there's documentation on it, and there's also, if you go in here and just listen to the prompts, it'll give you what you need to set that commander up.
Braille.
I don't have a Braille display connected. I do own the Mantis, and it works great with the Mac. Puts everything that VoiceOver would say on my Mantis screen, because when I'm using a Braille display, I turn voice off.
Activities.
You can have VoiceOver do a number of things. You can have them open up or use a different voice with Pages, and have them have a different voice with Keynote. I have mine set for when I open up Safari, Quick Nav comes on, and single key letter navigation is automatically started. So I mean, you can play around with these activities and do it lots of different things.
Voiceover recognition.
I have not used it on the Mac. I can't say how accurate it is. It is on, but I haven't had an instance where I've had to use it.
Voiceover recognition.
And that is your last category in the voiceover utilities. Thank you for joining this session of More with the Mac 2024. Thanks for joining today's session. Didn't get your question answered? Want a free consultation or some paid one-on-one training? Email us at support@ttjtech.biz or support@stiritup STURITUP.com. And remember, stir is spelled with a U. That's STURITUP.com. Or check out our websites for additional free resources. That's ttjtech.biz or stiritup.com. I'm Trainer Cliff. Thanks for joining us. God bless. See you next time.